All right, everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you are new, please do like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave all your thoughts in the comments below, because today we are breaking down the biggest grudge match in Australian boxing. That is Nikita Tszyu taking on Michael Zerafa, January 16th, which is a week away on time of filming. And a big fight for both individuals, a big fight for their namesakes, a big fight for their pride. That is what is at stake probably the most, is their pride. We know these two guys don't like each other. We know the families don't like each other. This has been building up for years now. Ever since Tim Tszyu was supposed to take on Zerafa all those years ago, we've heard it all in the build-up at the press conferences, all the face-offs. You know, the last face-offs they did at the Tim Tszyu versus Anthony Velasquez one, we saw the real disdain that these two have for each other, the real animosity that these two have for each other. I thought that was going to break out there, but we've got to fight week. These two are holding themselves professional until they get in that ring, and today we're going to talk about who I think is going to win it, why I think they're going to win it, and a bit of, the build up to this fight. So if we start by talking about the rules for this fight, it is Nikita Tszyu versus Michael Zerafa, obviously a super welterweighter versus a middleweighter, 160 pound versus 154 pounds. This was a big issue coming into making this fight. What weight do they make it? They've reached a contractual agreement of 157 pound weight limit. Obviously that's right in between the two weight classes, and a 10-round contest. I want to start by talking about Michael Zerafa, because I think in almost every element of this fight, Michael Zerafa has the advantage. So, if we talk about Michael Zerafa, he's been around for a very long time in Australian boxing. I mean, he debuted in 2011. All right, that's nearly 15 years in top-class Australian boxing. Compare that to Nikita Tszyu, and he made his debut in March of 2022. So you can see the depth of experience between these two fighters just on ring time and the amount of time that they've spent fighting different opponents around the world. Nikita Tszyu, he's fought only in Australia. Michael Zerafa, he's been in the States. He's been in world title fights. He's been in smaller belt fights. He's been against world champions. He's been up against up-and-comers. He's destroyed undefeated records. He's done it all, Michael Zerafa. The only thing he hasn't done is actually win a world title up until this point. Obviously, he's 33 years of age, 34 victories professionally, 5 defeats, with 2 of those defeats coming by way of knockout. But he has been a staple piece to Australian boxing for a very long time. And when I look at Michael Zerafa, the 157 pound weight limit definitely benefits Michael Zerafa, because Nikita Tszyu, he's used to fighting 154 pounds. So even if he chucks on a bit of weight and does a weight cut, I don't see his weight cut being anywhere near the weight cut that Zerafa is going to do. So I think Zerafa will always come into this fight the heavier guy, and the slightly taller man as well, which all advantages the more experienced fighter that Michael Zerafa is in. And up until this point of his career, he's had mixed results. I mean, he's had some good wins over his career, but none of them were really at the height of their powers. I mean, he beats Jeff Horn and then loses to him in the rematch. He beats Anthony Mundine, but it's an oldish Anthony Mundine. You could probably say the best win on his career might be Isaac Hardman, in terms of where Isaac Hardman was in his career, where Michael Zerafa was in his career. Yeah, he's had some other good wins, but the big fights in Zerafa's career, we're talking about Kell Brook, we're talking about the second Jeff Horn fight, we're talking about Erislandy Lara, which for me is his biggest fight. It was for the WBA world title, and he got slumped in 2 rounds. Peter Quillen, all these fights, big fights, he's lost. And yeah, it looks bad on the resume, and it all does that, but there's 2 parts to it, because as much as we found that that's his level, he can't get past that level, he hasn't been able to break that barrier in his career. He's been tested at that level. He's got that experience at that level. He knows what it takes to be at that level. Whereas Nikita Tszyu, up until this point, looking at his career and saying your best wins are Danilo Criati, Cohen Mizudia, Luzim Ismaili. If we're just talking about numbers on a piece of paper, I don't think Luzmil Ismaili is anywhere near the level of Cohen Mizudia or even Danilo Criati. But these guys, Dylan Biggs, they're not at the level that Michael Zerafa has been in there. Yeah, it does benefit Nikita Tszyu that Nikita is undefeated, 11-0. He's younger, 27 years of age. He hasn't got that ring time. You look at when we watched Crawford versus Canelo, 2 very different level of fighters to Zerafa and Nikita Tszyu. But there was one thing that you looked at that fight and said, you could tell Canelo has been in there for a lot longer time than Terence Crawford has. There's lots of different amounts of ring time. Crawford the older fighter, but he looked the fresher fighter. And you come into this fight and you're looking at Michael Zerafa. He's been in big fights. He's lost big fights. He's been knocked out. He's taken punishment, not for a few years. We're talking 15 years. Even in fights that he's won, you're still taking damage. Whereas Nikita Tszyu, we're talking about a 27-year-old, a very, very fresh man. Somebody that's coming in here to destroy Michael Zerafa. Like, the mentality that Nikita Tszyu has coming into this fight is kill, 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 kill. And that can work two ways. You know, you can lose composure. You can be picked off by the experienced fighter, or the experienced fighter can be overawed by the youthful exuberance of Nikita Tszyu. Just that energy that Nikita Tszyu is going to bring into this fight. Can Michael Zerafa match that? It's 10 rounds, not 12 rounds. The other big talking point that I feel like has been discussed coming into this fight is Michael Zerafa's ability against an orthodox fighter, right? Everybody keeps saying, you know, Michael Zerafa is very good against an orthodox fighter. The southpaws are where you get him. Nikita Tszyu is a southpaw. Everybody's saying that Michael Zerafa's downfall is a southpaw fighter. Now, for me, I don't know where that storyline has come in. I don't know whether Michael Zerafa has personally said that he struggles with a southpaw, but up until this point in his career, I've seen him struggle once against a southpaw. Once. All right, he's had 5 losses. 4 of those fighters were orthodox fighters. 1 was southpaw, and that was Erislandy Lara, and that was in his title fight, all right, where he gets slumped in the second round. But Erislandy Lara is a very experienced fighter, and he can do that to you, all right? He has been a world champion for a very long time, and there's a reason for that, because he's got that ability. I guess the question was, Michael Zerafa at 33 years of age, well, he's actually 31 or 32, because that was in March of 2024. Either way, he was 8-9 years the youthful compared to Erislandy Lara. It was Michael Zerafa's time to show that, and the way in which he went about that fight, the way in which he lost that fight, didn't reflect great on Michael Zerafa, especially when you take in all that encompasses the point of which Erislandy Lara is in his career. And, you know, everybody's saying that Nikita Tszyu's got this massive advantage being a southpaw, and I just don't see it being that massive of an advantage. Yeah, there's probably some scars there from what Erislandy Lara did, but there's scars to fight an orthodox one as well. There's 4 losses there, including a knockout to Peter Quillen. So, yeah, in terms of, is there an advantage that Nikita Tszyu is a southpaw? For me, there isn't. All right, it doesn't make a lick of difference. If you've got no ability, it doesn't matter what stance you're standing in. How is this fight won or lost? This fight, I think, is won or lost off the back of the ability that Nikita Tszyu has. All right? Up until this point in his career, he's been able to maul opponents, been able to run through opponents, a bit like Tim Tszyu did very early on in his career. When he got to that world stage, when he got to Sebastian Fundora, when he got to Bakram Murtazaliev, and that type of tactic doesn't work anymore against an elite level opponent. Michael Zerafa, I don't put in that class, but Michael Zerafa is the elite of Australian boxing, all right? I think he's a good world level fighter. I don't think he's a great world level fighter. I don't think he's a world champion level world level fighter, but he is a great domestic level fighter, and that is a tough ask for Nikita Tszyu, because Nikita Tszyu up until this point hasn't been tested to that level. Nikita Tszyu for me hasn't shown that level of ability. You look at the Danilo Criati fight, you look at the Cohen Mazzudia fight. There was points in that fight where he took big shots, and he was probably lucky to get through some of those rounds against Cohen Mazzudia, especially. So you're now up against a bigger opponent in Michael Zerafa, a bigger hitter in Michael Zerafa, a better fighter in Michael Zerafa. You can't show that same sort of lack of composure, sort of lack of boxing IQ that you have in those fights, where just mauling your opponent, your physical athleticism is enough to get you through that. Nikita Tszyu, he doesn't have a long amateur career. He doesn't have a long professional career. We're talking 3 years compared to 14 years professionally for Michael Zerafa. So for me, Nikita Tszyu up until this point hasn't shown me that level of boxing IQ that Tim did. But that doesn't mean it's not there. It just means he hasn't shown it yet. All right. And this is the fight that if he's got it, it's going to be show classed. If there's flaws, if there's major flaws in Nikita Tszyu, it comes down to this. The last talking point in this fight is the ring time. All right. They both fought in August of 2024. Since then, both fighters have had 1 fight for Nikita Tszyu. Michael Zerafa's fought twice, 8 rounds for Zerafa, 1 round for Nikita Tszyu. In that meantime, Nikita Tszyu experiencing a whole lot of problems with his hands and being able to actually fight because his hands aren't holding up. a year and a half with one round coming into the biggest fight of your life. Michael Zerafa, he hasn't had a lot of ring time, but he's still prepped for 2 fights. He was still in 2 fights. One went 7 rounds, one went 1 round, but it's still 2 different occasions. And he's proved over the course of his career and over the past 18 months that he's not getting injured, that he's ready to fight. Whereas Nikita Tszyu, the Ismaili fight was supposed to be that fight that we see whether the hands could hold up. Can he go 6, 7, 8, 9 rounds without his hands breaking? We didn't see that. And that's a big talking point coming into this fight, because if Nikita Tszyu's hands break in the 2nd round, 3rd round, this fight is a completely different fight than it is on paper, on what it is we're talking about right now. And I don't think that can be understated. All right, Nikita Tszyu is already up against it. He's up against his hardest opponent, experienced opponent, big opponent. The last thing he needs is broken hands coming into this fight. Now, look, if you were to put odds on it, realistically, Michael Zerafa should be the favorite coming into this fight. Michael Zerafa, like I've said over the course of this video, has the experience, has the know-how, has the size, all right? He's got everything that, you know, Nikita Tszyu, up until this point, hasn't been able to show him because he hasn't been in the ring that long. Nikita Tszyu, on the other hand, though, there's just this fear of the unknown, man. We don't know what we're going to get from Nikita Tszyu because he is a bit crazy, all right? He's a bit unorthodox. And he's going in there with a mentality of, I don't want to see Michael Zerafa breathing by the end of this fight. And I'm not sure whether Michael Zerafa has that same has that same motivation towards Nikita Tszyu. I think Michael Zerafa's motivation is more about beating the name to get a bigger fight for a world title. I think Nikita Tszyu's main concern is not what this fight brings afterwards. He's already highly ranked in super welterweight rankings anyway. It's not how long until a world title fight. It's not who am I going to verse next. It's I'm going to put this guy to sleep. And that is all Nikita Tszyu is focusing on. And like I said, that can work 2 ways. That can be the greatest motivation you can have. That emotion can make you so uncomposed that you get picked off and lose, because as much as it is a fight, it's also about boxing. And I've seen a lot of fighters lose because they don't have the boxing ability. And that's my probably biggest fear for Nikita Tszyu. In terms of who I think is going to win this fight, I think you'd be silly to say that Michael Zerafa isn't the favorite. For me, he's most definitely the favorite. But that doesn't mean you're going to win. That doesn't mean you're going to win. And I think Nikita Tszyu, if his hands hold up, gets the win in this fight. I think he's going to have just too much for Michael Zerafa to pin back. All right, because Michael Zerafa is going to have to pin him back. Nikita Tszyu is going to be on him all night long. And can Michael Zerafa push away those scars that he got from Erislandy Lara and that left hand coming over the top? I'm not sure. And Nikita Tszyu isn't Erislandy Lara. He's not sitting back. He's full in your face, running down. So my prediction is Nikita Tszyu to win. I think he stops Michael Zerafa. I don't know whether if this goes to a decision, Nikita Tszyu will have done enough in the 10 rounds to win it. Because I think if Nikita Tszyu hurts Michael Zerafa, he gets him out of there. But I think either way, this is going to be a hell of a fight. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'm out here, guys. See ya!